Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another video where we will be looking at Matt Dillahunty, really showing a point that I always talk about here. And what I want us to pay attention to in this video is how the conversation at first will start off honestly, or it seems to have an honesty to it. And then as the pressure is put on, what starts to happen to anything that you believe that you are trying to prove to someone else, you're going to see the struggle when you don't have any concrete evidence behind what you believe, and what it starts to turn into, and how it starts to turn into a snowball of contradictions. So before we get started, you guys make sure to click all your buttons out there. Let me know that you like this content. And of course, if you have any suggestions for content that I should go over, or anything that you think I can improve on, let me know in the comment section below. But for now, let's go ahead and get started. This is a very long video. I will be cutting to different parts in the video, so you know ahead of time. If you see it skip over, I'll also have the full video link in the description below. So if you want to go watch this will be on the line. I think most of you, if you watch my channel, know about Matt Dillahunty and the line. So without further ado, sorry for that long introduction. Let's get right into it.
That's dishonest. He did not say might makes right. He ended with that it ends up being one person's preference against another person's preference. So I'm adding the might makes right. But
Joe.
would you be able to tweak that or tweak my understanding of what he may have said?
But also,
Okay.
I don't know Justin, so I have no thoughts on what Justin's position is. I certainly am not going to respond to a hearsay account of Justin's position. But
Fair enough.
it says here that you think that God is the best grounding for morality. How can something which we cannot demonstrate exists and we cannot demonstrate has ever spoken a word to anyone about morality be the best grounding for morality? If I'm not going to address Justin's argument based on hearsay, why should I care what hearsay I have about what God says?
So here we are at the beginning of the conversation. In almost any debate I've had on God, religion, this is the beginning. And we're asking a very reasonable question here. If your foundation is this thing, should you not have to be able to prove it? And if you can't prove it, what does that mean? This is a very valid question, and if anyone is sharing their beliefs with you, you should be able to ask them this question, because my question would be, why would you not want your beliefs to be true? Or are you like Cypher in the Matrix that would just rather, who got into the Matrix and then realized the truth was too much to handle, so you would rather take the blue pill and stay inside? Because the reality is, and it's something that I can admit myself, ignorance is bliss. Whether we're talking about politics or whether we're talking about religion, not having to face these hard things is what most human beings are choosing to do in the moment.
Well, I mean, I think that God has spoken. God has spoken
Okay,
through his
prove
word.
it. Prove it.
Uh, I believe that Christ fulfilled hundreds of
I don't care
prophecies.
what you believe, Joe. I don't care what you believe, Joe. I care what you can prove. See, the thing is, let's say
Okay.
there's two secular atheists and they disagree on
Mm-hmm.
morality. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, it becomes might makes right. No, it doesn't. If we can come to agreement on that, what we're talking about being well-being or whatever, we can then make objective assessments about the consequences of actions with respect to a goal. And it doesn't matter whether that goal was pulled out of a hat, pulled out of somebody's ass, 2 people agreed, 20 people agreed, or somebody wrote it down in a book. And it doesn't matter if somebody said God said it. All of them are all equally flawed as a foundation. Because if you just say, oh, I believe in the biblical God's view of morality, well, first of all, the biblical God's view of morality isn't consistent, isn't understood, isn't able to be pointed to the actual God if there is one. And people who read the Bible do not agree on moral foundations. They do not agree on what is or isn't moral or what applies at different times. So there is no objection to secular morality.
Here is one of the next stages. I know in this particular conversation, they're focusing on morality, but I believe in any conversation when we're talking about God and specifically the Christian God, we end up with morality. The person I was debating last week, and here you go. This is a good segue. Fridays, I will be starting to do either a YouTube live or a Twitch live. So I'll have those links in the description below on each of my videos. I would love for you guys to come chat with me on Fridays. And let's get back to it. So the main point of this to me is where you can't really answer the first question. You can't really prove God, so we have to jump to the next topic. And I think all of us would agree we can't prove God. And in my opinion, that is a non-starter then. If we can't prove that, we cannot even have that as a premise to or a conclusion to our premise, because now we're just going to be adding circular reasoning, and you cannot already know the answer and then have an honest search for the truth as well. So let's get back to it.
That can possibly be solved by appealing to a God, because from my perspective, God isn't an objective source. I have no information of that any God has ever said anything, or that if they have said something, that it is in fact right. So all you're doing is stating what your opinion is, and that your foundation for your opinion is something that we don't give a fuck about, and that is objectively wrong when we consider the well-being of human creatures. Because objectively, if we value the well-being of humans, slavery is immoral, the Bible supports slavery, therefore the Bible is supporting something that's immoral. However, even if the Bible said slavery is immoral, that wouldn't prove that the Bible is a good foundation for morality. It would just prove that that one is in agreement with us.
I really think we need to focus here on what Matt's saying because it's so important. Just because the Bible gets something right does not mean it is what truth is. Just because Matt says something correct that most of us agree with, or even if all of us agree with, in no way does that prove something being right. This is why going off of your feelings can be very dangerous, and I would never suggest anyone to make every decision off of their feelings. Feelings you can't stop, they will come, but you need to be basing every decision that you make in reality. And like the debate I had last week, I was telling the person that they do not live their life as if this Bible spiritual verses, as if these Bible spiritual verses or chapters or stories are real. Their everyday life does not live that way. And the excuse that was made later on that it's different now, right? I actually don't know if there is an excuse. Why does not God? I actually don't know if there is an excuse. Why doesn't God still show up? God showed up all the time, and I mean showed up in all of the glory. Well, some would say not in all of the glory, but you get what my point. God showed up and people knew it was God. Nowadays, with all our technology and everything that we have, we can't find God to save our life. We got telescopes that can see across the universe, and we're not seeing anything,
So
sadly.
Joe, I have made many videos about why Bible prophecy, in my view, in my limited view, is garbage. There's lots of criteria. You have to have it be predicted, definitely predicted before, has to be answerable to a single verifiable occurrence. It has to clearly be intended to be a prediction. And again, these might not be your criteria, but they're mine, right? Like, and that people weren't effectively trying to make it happen. That's why you're laughing at Matt's prediction, because it's something he could potentially make happen. It has to, there's all these criteria potentially out there. We could talk about that for days, and if that was what you wanted to call about, we could talk about whether you and I agree that the Bible has even one fulfilled prophecy in it. I don't think it does, and I've studied it a lot. But let's grant that the Bible has dozens and dozens of predictions of things that happened hundreds and thousands of years later, and that there was definitely not a great human reason why that could have happened. Let's just set that aside for a second. I'll grant it for the sake of the argument. How would that tell me that the God of the Bible is good grounding for morality?
Now, I don't know if Matt's going to bring this up, but it is something I want to bring up here, that if you listen to the words this person is saying, when you believe this, you almost have to appeal to authority. There is no other way, because unlike science, there is nothing that is testable. So when you cannot test something, all you can do is rely on someone that you think is higher than you, or has the ability, the capability, or able to think higher than you. Which is a very dangerous thing to do, because all I have to do is sound smart and you'll believe me. All I have to do is know what you need to hear, and I can structure everything, and I can structure my sentences to the way you need to hear, so you can build the picture that you need to see. And then now you're believing and trusting in me and trusting in every word. And that's how this stuff works. That's how it traps you. That's how it scares you. It scares the shit out of you when you really believe this. I still believe some of this. So I am being as honest as I can as possible. And the sad thing is, all my beliefs that I still have with this are all scary. I don't feel love when I talk about these subjects. When I ask God about what's going on in these things, I don't feel love. I feel fear. It's scary. I feel shame. This cannot be the feeling that God is supposed to give us if God is all loving. Now, this does not mean God does not exist, but it is something that I want you to question. Question your beliefs.
Well, so that would be a good foundation for figuring out, is the God of the Bible real? Is he trustworthy? Does he actually have the power and the knowledge to understand the future and understand the past? And if he does have all of those things, then we could trust him when he says that he alone created the heavens and the earth, that he was the one who created man in his image, and that he is the one who gets to set the moral principles by which we live.
Okay, so
that would be.
So notice that we're jumping again. Each time you attack one of these believers' truths, they just jumps to another one. And it's because there is no substance. I really want you guys that are my believers that watch this to understand that you have no substance. The only thing he has is the book, and the book is telling you what it wants you to believe. And as I stated minutes ago, you do not live your life this way. You don't walk out of the door and feel like you're going to be okay because of a book. You walk out of the door and feel like you're going to be okay because there's proof that our society is more civilized than other areas. And then when you go to one of these areas that I'm speaking of that aren't like that, you no longer pretend that you can walk out of the door and everything is just fine. In our reality, our senses tell us what's going on. And then the more survivability you have, you're able to distinguish between real threats and threats that are not there. And the only way to do that is with proof. The animals that could not do these things as efficient as we can are extinct, are having trouble. This is why we conquered the world, is because we don't do things just off of emotion. We do things off of science. Any improvement in humanity's well-being has been because of science. Science disproves itself. There has never been one thing in the Bible that has proven science. Otherwise, it would be science.
So Joe, I have made many videos about why Bible prophecy, in my view, in my limited view, is garbage. There's lots of criteria. You have to have it be predicted, definitely predicted before, has to be answerable to a single verifiable occurrence. It has to clearly be intended to be a prediction. And again, these might not be your criteria, but they're mine, right? Like, and the people weren't effectively trying to make it happen. That's why you're laughing at Matt's prediction, because it's something he could potentially make happen. It has to, there's all these criteria potentially out there. We could talk about that for days, and if that was what you wanted to call about, we could talk about whether you and I agree that the Bible has even one fulfilled prophecy in it. I don't think it does, and I've studied it a lot. But let's grant that the Bible has dozens and dozens of predictions of things that happened hundreds and thousands of years later, and that there was definitely not a great human reason why that could have happened. Let's just set that aside for a second. I'll grant it for the sake of the argument. How would that tell me that the God of the Bible is good grounding for morality?
But who are we getting this information from? What is stopping God from just coming and saying it like God did before? I have to admit, I'm a little jealous that Matthew, Mark, Luke, John got to see God. I am a little jealous on that. Let's just have an honest take right there. Why does God not just show up? What is the reason to not show up? And I know the excuse is free will, all this other good stuff, but remember, God did it before. Why is God silent now? Ask yourself that question. Go to the comment section below and be honest.
Well, so that would be a good foundation for figuring out, is the God of the Bible real? Is he trustworthy? Does he actually have the power and the knowledge to understand the future and understand the past? And if he does have all of those things, then we could trust him when he says that he alone created the heavens and the earth, that he was the one who created man in his image, and that he is the one who gets to set the moral principles by which we live.
Okay, so
that would be
Here's my thing on the infallibility of the Bible. I don't know who really believes that. Let me know in the comment section below if you do not believe that, because then we can transition into another conversation, because at that point, a lot starts to break down. But let me know below and I might make a video on that as well. Why do you think the Bible is infallible? We can go to text right now and point out things that are wrong. So I think when we're talking to believers, that infallible takes on a whole different meaning, and it's not the same meaning, once again, that we would use in reality. And this is why having these religious beliefs can cause you to have a problem. And part of my goal of this is not to take away your religious beliefs. I had somebody in the comments section below telling me to stop turning people away from Jesus, when that's not my point at all. My point is, if you believe in Jesus, hold back on some of these things that you place into our reality that don't fit. Bigotry, racism, special pleading, believing in things that you can't prove. All of these things are poisoning our society at this very moment. And I could care less whether you believe in God or not. But I am starting to see the cracks that have been there forever in our society and where they're coming from. almost all of the social problems that we have in our society come from the tension between religious beliefs and non-religious beliefs. And it's because we live in such a comfy society. But almost all other problems in the world, I know you can point out some atheist wars and issues, and even those are kind of skeptical at best. I'm sorry, even those are flimsy at best. Most of our conflicts have come from misunderstandings, and a lot of the misunderstandings have been from religious people that they're not allowed to sit down and talk. As I conversate with a lot of you in the comments section below, go back and see if you have ever been able to admit being wrong. That's a very important thing, to be able to be wrong. If you cannot be wrong, then you are the problem in the conversation. And that's something that isn't taught, because you're taught that this book is infallible because somehow a perfect God needed people to write God's words down. Yet we're all born in sin and we're all born infallible. So I don't think God would take a message that's so important and trust it to human beings that he had already seen fail multiple times.
My grounding
gets to set is essentially basically you're advocating for God made it, so he gets to make the rules. Is that basically? And maybe
that's part of it. An example of that would be like Christ saying that he is Lord of the Sabbath, and so he can break the Sabbath, which was given to them as a sign and a symbol, but most of the rules are a reflection directly of his nature. And so, as an example, go ahead. I don't want to be rude.
Is your understanding of morality that it is authoritarian based?
Yeah.
And there it is. Conversation started off by kind of pretending that that wasn't the conclusion, but it is. And if you watch the rest of this video, this is an hour-long video, so there's no way we can go completely through it. If you do want me to finish the rest of the video, you guys know what to do. Click your buttons and I'll for sure as hell post it, because this is interesting. This is the conversations that I'm having with you guys. I just hope that you can see what you may be sounding like to me. And this doesn't mean you're wrong, but maybe it can help you articulate a little bit better, because what we just witnessed is a lot of circular reasoning and the consequence of what happens when you already have the picture and then you try to put the puzzle pieces together. It just doesn't work. It won't make any sense. And you won't have proof of how you were able to know the picture. So just remember, guys, we're not supposed to be able to know God. We can't read God's mind. So how did all of these stories come about? There's more contradictions to this. So as always, guys, thank you for watching. Question your beliefs. Be honest with yourselves. When you comment to me below, be as honest as possible. It is okay to say I don't know, and then that's it. Let's start having a real conversation. Let's start trying to help each other understand the truth, or as close to the truth as we can get. We need to do this together, but in order to do this together, we have to start being honest about the things that are wrong in our beliefs. And the only way to do that, since we're two individuals that are separated, our minds are separated, so I have to be able to point to things that you can see and you can use as proof that of what I am saying may be closer to the truth. So let's start doing that together. Thank you guys for watching. I'm out.